Hi, welcome back to Christine's Home Affairs. We are going to be covering a few different things in this project today. First of all, I'm going to show you how to draw a heart. So the project we're doing today is going to involve a heart shape. We're going to be making a coin pouch that's in the shape of a heart, and I'm going to show you how to draft a pattern for a heart, but you can do this in any size you like. So I'm not going to be giving you any dimensions for fabric today, because if you make this, you will draw your heart shape in whatever size you prefer. Therefore, you're going to have to work out the fabric yourself. And because we're working with so many curved edges, I'm going to have a look and see which one of my tools is best for clipping curves. I have my rotary cutter that has a pinking blade on it, so it's got a wavy blade. My regular dressmaker scissors, my pinking shears, which lots of you know I don't like using. We're going to try a few different techniques for cutting close to our curves or clipping our curves when we do this heart-shaped pouch. Let me show it to you. So we've got our heart here. I've decided to put a little hook on the side there so that you can hang it in your bag, and it's got a plastic snap on the front, and there's an opening in here, so you just pop your coins in there, close up your pouch, and your coins can jiggle around freely inside the heart. So I think this is a really cute little project. So let's start by drafting a pattern, and then we can sew up our heart-shaped pouch. Let's get to it. All right, I'm going to start off with a piece of paper and something round. So you can use a cup or a plate. It really doesn't matter what you use. The size that you use is only going to be dependent on the size of the heart shape you want to make. So in this project, I'm not going to be giving you any dimensions because everybody's heart's going to be a different size. With my paper, I've just folded that in half to mark a crease, and I've folded that in half the other way to mark a crease. I'm going to take my circle, and your paper needs to be as big as 2 circles. So say I fold this in half now. This is probably the easiest way to line it up. Place your circle on the 2 folded edges, and then we're going to trace a line right around that. Then you can open that out, and you can see the top part of your heart has started to form its shape. Fold that back in half, and we'll use the other side, and we'll do the same. Open that out, and if you look at the top section there, you can see the curves of the heart. Once I've got these 2 circles outlined, fold the fabric in half and draw a reference line on that centre fold. So that will be the centre point of your heart, and this will be the bottom point of your heart. From here, we're going to mark a diagonal line from the centre out to the circle. Now this can be as long or as short as you like. It's up to you how long and narrow you want your heart to be. I might come down to about here and then find the edge of the circle and mark that line. Find where I've connected that line there, and I'll find that same reference point on the other side. That will give me an even diagonal line, and I'll just mark that from here going down. That's now the basic shape of our heart. We don't need all of the markings on the inside. We'll now take a thicker marker and trace the outline, and from here you'll roughly follow that outline until you get to the bottom of the heart. Repeat for the other side. So that's just an easy way of drawing your heart shape out. Now that we've got our basic heart shape, we need to mark a rectangle to come out here, and to do that I'm going to measure from this bottom corner up 1.5 centimetres or 5/8 of an inch, And from that mark, I'm also going to come up another 5 centimetres or 2 inches. From those 2 marks, I'm going to extend a line going out in line with this straight edge here, and that will be 2 inches long or 5 centimetres. Same over here. And then we'll join that up. If it's not perfect, it's okay. Now that we've created a box around the side of the heart, we're going to measure 1.5 centimetres again, or 5/8 of an inch from the corner. 5/8 of an inch from the bottom, or 1.5 centimetres. Same measurements along here on the corner. These measurements here can be any measurement you like. We really just want to have a curved edge. Place a coin or anything with a curved edge over those markings. I'll trace out these lines. Follow the curve. And there's our final heart-shaped template. Now, one really important thing that we need here is a fold line. This is just one side of our heart. From this edge here, I'm going to just mark a straight line parallel to the edge there. This is the fold line of our template. If you want to go one step further and create a pattern that opens out so that you don't have to remember to put this on the fold, you can grab some interfacing, a non-iron-on, and it's sheer enough that you can see the heart shape through it. So if you fold a piece in half and place this fold line over this line, then you can make sure that you've got the heart shape outline here, and you can trace that out. Ideally, I should have used a bigger piece of paper, but I forgot to allow for the fold. So you can create your template in one go if you have a longer piece of paper going this way. But I really wanted to be able to work with the folds in the fabric. That was much easier for me to try and understand. What I'm going to do is trace my heart out onto this. I'll pop some tape over the edge there so that it doesn't shift, and start tracing. I don't need to trace this line here. I've traced the outline here. If I fold that back over in half, I can see the outline of my heart shape through that. And now I can cut that out. So I've pinned those edges together just so that they don't shift whilst I'm cutting. Okay, we've done that. Open that out. This tab here on our left we don't need. We can cut that straight off. And there's our finished pattern for our little heart-shaped coin pouch. So the aim is to have the 2 pieces of fabric with the heart folding over like this and the tab coming across here. We'll have our little opening along there. I think what I might do in the pattern is extend this. This is such a big heart, just like mine. I'll extend that heart a little bit. So that's an easy fix. So I've just used that little scrap that I cut off here to extend that a bit. As I come around here, I'll straighten that off and curve it around again. That'll give me a wider opening for the coins. All right, let's put this to fabric and make it up. Okay, here's everything that we're going to be using. I have some little plastic snaps. If you don't have those, you can use Velcro instead. Or you can sew on one of those little metal snaps. If you're going to use Velcro, when you start putting this together, this piece here needs to have a piece of Velcro put on before you actually finish your project. I have my pattern, a piece of lightweight fusible fleece or interfacing. This is just a really lightweight parlan, and I have 2 pieces of fabric. I'm going to sew this piece of fusible fleece onto one of my fabric pieces straight away, and then I'll cut everything to size. So just make sure that the stabilizer that you have is as big as your pattern. So with that fused to one piece of fabric, place your 2 fabric pieces right side together. We'll place our pattern over the top and make sure that there's enough fabric to cover it. Once you've pinned it together, you can cut the outline. Along the top here where I've extended my tab, I'm just going to cut straight across until I get to the other curved edge. Okay, there's our finished cutout and a little heart. We don't need this anymore unless you're going to be making more of them. Leave your fabric exactly as is with the right sides facing, pin it together again. I will flip it over because I've got my stabilized fabric on this side, and I will pin that together again. I'll be sewing from the stabilized side. The opening wants to be just on this side of the heart. So starting about 1.5 inches from this corner here, mark one line and then another line a few inches apart. We'll leave that open. So we're going to sew from here with the back stitch, come across here, around each of these sections. And what I will do now, we're going to use a 1/4 inch seam allowance or 6 millimeters. From this point here, I'm going to measure the seam allowance of 1/4 inch. When I come around with my stitching, I'm going to stitch to that cross that I've made there, and then I'll turn around and go back around the other side. So if I mark that now, it'll actually be a lot easier for me to find where I need to stop. I mark those points on every corner or curve that goes in. That will make it much easier for me to stop with my needle down, turn the work around and continue sewing with that same 1/4 inch. Because we've got such sharp curves here, when I come around here, I'm going to stop with my needle down, then I'll go back 1 or 2 stitches and then go forward again. Then I'll turn my work, I'll go forward 1 or 2 stitches and go back, and then I'll go around. And that's just going to reinforce the stitching along here so that when I cut into this curve or into the corner, the thread's not going to unravel, or the fabric's not going to unravel very easily. So with all of our layers pinned together, let's take this to the machine. I'm starting on the side where the opening is going to be. I'll backstitch here. My fabric is following along the 1/4 inch guide on my stitch plate. I'm just using a regular 90 or size 14 universal sewing needle. The first cross I'm coming to, I'll sew up to that. I've stopped with the needle down, I'll go back 2 stitches and go forward again. I'll turn my work, line up the straight edge of my fabric with the 1/4 inch mark on my stitch plate, go forward for 2 and continue on. Because there are so many curves on this, it's a project that's going to require me to go slow, which I don't like. And coming back up to the straight edge here, I'll stop at this mark I've made with a back stitch. And there's our little opening. All right, this looks like a puffy cloud, doesn't it? Flip it over. You can see where I've gone into my corners. They're not perfect, but they'll be fine. We now need to clip into the corners. So we're going to snip right into the corner of the fabric, but we're not going into the stitching. We'll do that on all the curves as well. And then we need to clip our curves or trim them really close to the edge. So I think this is a perfect opportunity for me to try a few different things and see how they all compare. So on the curve closest to the tab, I'm going to use my pinking blade. On the next curve, I'm going to clip the edges up to the stitching line but not through it. So you can see that that's been opened up there. On the third one, I'm going to use my pinking shears. I don't like these things. And with the fourth one, oh, there's another one there. I think this one I'm just going to cut really close to the edge. Of course, if I were doing a serious project, I wouldn't be testing these things out like this, but I figure there are so many curves. It's a great way to see which is actually the better way to trim your curves so that you have a really nice finish. So this one here, which is the closest to the tab, is the pinking blade on my rotary cutter. The second one here is just clipping into the curves, which is what we usually do. The third one is using the pinking shears. The fourth one is just cutting really close to the edge. And this one here, I'll use my pinking blade because it's my favourite and it's quick. So I'm interested to see the results as well as finishing this. Find your opening, turn everything the right way out and neaten up your curves and edges. And once that's done, I'll take this to the iron and give it a really good press. Okay, everything has been pressed and look, all four curves are looking okay. This is the one that we used the pinking blade. We used the scissors here to snip into the curves. We used the pinking shears on this one, and I cut very close to the edge on this one. This one was also the pinking blade. I don't know if you can see the difference. The curve here is actually really nice and even, whereas this one has got a couple of square edges on it. This one looks okay as well, and that's the one with the pinking shears. And then this is the one with the fabric cut really close to the edge. I actually really like this. I think this has come up the neatest. And then cutting really close to the edge was almost just as neat, or is just as neat. But I wouldn't do that on a fabric that had really loose threads because they'll come undone. So anyway, that was a good little experiment for me anyway. I hope you guys wanted to know that as well. I'm going to be sticking to my pinking blade. No doubt I'll be using the other techniques in future videos as well. But I think this one's the best. Now, let's get back to it. Now that this is all nicely pressed, the other thing you want to try and think as well is which fabric you want facing up. When I placed my fabric on the pattern, I had the pink side faced up, and when the pouch is finished, the pink side is faced up and my flap will fold over like this. So if I had wanted this fabric here, I would need to have that faced up when I was cutting my pattern out. Or alternatively, instead of having your pattern laid out like this, you would lay it out the other way, and then you could actually have the floral side faced up instead. So that's just something to keep in mind when you're working out which piece of fabric you want to have on the outside and the inside. Before we fold this over and close it, some of you may want to have a little tab with a swivel clip attached to it. So if you do, you can attach the tab anywhere you like within the heart. So you might want to have it coming from the middle of the heart there, or hanging from the side there. If you do want a little tab with a swivel clip, grab a scrap piece of fabric. This is about 1.5 inches wide by 3 inches. I folded the raw edges into the centre, folded that in again. I'll go and stitch down both long edges, and once I've done that, I'll pop it onto the end of my swivel and place it somewhere on my heart. I just have to decide where I want to have the clip coming out now. I think that's the best spot for it. Now, we're not going to be placing it this way. We're actually going to place it outward. I'll leave that for now. We need to close up this opening here. And what I'm going to do is just mark from the side of the tab here. So I've got a mark here, and I'm going to top stitch in that short section there. It's just where the opening is, where we've turned it through. I'll do a top stitch just along that section there. I've closed that section up whilst I was at the machine. I just thought I'd stitch this down as well. Now we can close this up. Fold your heart over to the other side, line up the edges of your heart, and now we can top stitch this. It really doesn't matter where you start. I might start about here, come down to the corner here, top stitch around to the tab, around to the point here, along the side, around your heart shape, and back to the beginning. How cute is this? I really need to learn to sew curves a lot better than that. But it's fine, I can live with that. We need to put our snaps on now. So I'm going to fold that over. If you're using Velcro, you will have already done that. Find the center of my tab somewhere here. I might go a little bit closer to the end, otherwise the tab will flip back. So I'll mark a hole in there. And I'm going to fold my tab up in line with the edge of the heart because we don't want our coins falling out. Pop the awl back in there and poke a little hole through the next layer of fabric, which is just there. I don't want to go through all the layers, so I'm just going to pop my fingers in there and just go through the layers on this side of the heart. Make a little hole there. Then we need the end cap to go inside. So I've got that sticking out from the inside there. Pop one of my little thingamajigs on there and press that together. And where I've marked the other hole, I'll take the other end cap that comes in from the outside, pop the other thingamajig on top and clamp that one closed as well. And we're done. These are all the coins I could find in my purse. Pop them in there and you have got a really cute little heart-shaped storage pouch for all your coins. This is going to hold a lot of coins. You could put lots of little trinkets and things in there as well. So what did you think? We've drawn our pattern, drafted it onto a piece of paper. And from that, we've converted that into a functional, cute little heart-shaped pouch. And as I said earlier, you can make this in any size you like. Stabilizer as well isn't really going to matter. This is quite soft and padded, so if you wanted to, you could just use a normal iron-on interfacing. That'll give you nice crisp edges, and I think it'll work just as well. Easy to open, little snap at the bottom, shake it out, and those coins will come out nice and easily. I didn't have enough to fill up the bag though. Most of the products I make are one-offs, and I don't intend to have them in the shop, especially this one. It's got too many curves for me, and I'd need to get much better at sewing around the edges before I could sell something like this. So this one's for you guys. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I shall catch you next time. Bye for now.